We are now just 342 days away from the midterms, and a big change could be coming to the Trump administration. Sources tell MS Now that Donald Trump is considering revoking Kash Patel as FBI director because he is frustrated with all the negative headlines swirling around this guy. That is according to 3 people with knowledge of the situation. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt denied the story. She posted that it was completely made up, along with a picture of Trump and Patel, and the president himself gave Patel a shout out earlier today. Watch this.
Has been very busy and doing a great job. Also, thank you, Kash.
Speaking of the FBI, officials from the Bureau, along with the Department of Justice, have reached out to Capitol Police to interview the 6 Democratic lawmakers. You remember the story, the ones who made the video urging military personnel to refuse any illegal orders that they may be given. In a statement, these lawmakers said Trump is using the FBI as a tool to intimidate and harass them, and they will not be bullied.
Hello and welcome, guys. Adam is here. So what just happened. FBI Director Kash Patel promised total transparency on the Epstein files, but is now caught doing the opposite. After months of congressional pressure to release everything, the walls are closing in as the public demands full disclosure, not redactions or delays. Why the sudden hope? Because Donald Trump signed into law something called the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This wasn't a suggestion. This wasn't a gentle request from Congress. This was the law of the land, signed, sealed, and delivered with a clear deadline. The Justice Department and the FBI had 30 days to get every single Epstein-related document out to the public. 30 days, a month. Plenty of time, right?
Donald Trump has made this announcement, Roz, on social media. As far as I can see, members of the American press weren't allowed into the Oval Office to capture this moment. Instead, the president took to Truth Social fairly late in the evening, Washington time, to say, "I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files." As everyone knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass this bill in the House and Senate respectively. Because of this request, the votes were almost unanimous in favour of passage. Now, that is a reference to Congress's approval yesterday of legislation that compels the Department of Justice to release all of its files relating to Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump had for a long time resisted the passage of that legislation. He had criticised Republicans, people in his own party like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had been pushing it. But when it became clear that momentum had built to the point where that vote might succeed despite Donald Trump's opposition, he reversed course and he encouraged Republicans to back it. So it really sailed through Congress yesterday.
Well, the deadline came. The deadline went. And what did the American people get? Barely anything. The Department of Justice trickled out some heavily redacted documents so scrubbed and cleaned that they revealed less than 1% of what the law actually required. Less than 1%. Congress looked at this and said, "Excuse me, what is happening here? We passed a law. The president signed it. Why are you ignoring it?" Enter Kash Patel with what he thought was his golden excuse. "Court orders," he told Congress. "Federal judges have ordered these files to remain secret. My hands are tied. I am not allowed to release them." The judges said no. Patel repeated this so many times that it became his automatic response to every single question about the Epstein files. Court orders, court orders, court orders.
That's what we're working with.
Oh, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to release.
Which court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said...
We're talking about the evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any idea how the law works?
Wait.
Do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No, I want you to follow your own word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the black book.
Everything I have direct control over, we have gone to court.
But here is where the story takes a devastating turn for Patel. Federal judges started speaking publicly, and what they said absolutely shattered his defense. One federal judge, a man named Judge Paul Engelmeyer, wrote an opinion that directly contradicted everything Patel had been telling Congress. The government is the logical party to release the Epstein files, the judge wrote. Read that again. The government is the logical party to release them, not to hide them, not to redact them, to release them. Another federal judge came forward and said something even more damaging. The FBI has the authority to disclose these records. The judge didn't say the FBI might have authority in some limited circumstances. The judge said the FBI has the authority, period. Full stop. These weren't anonymous whispers from unnamed sources. These were federal judges putting their names on written opinions saying that Patel's excuse was nonsense.
Our breaking news just coming in to CNN right now. A federal judge in New York has just granted the U.S. Justice Department's request to unseal records from the investigation and criminal prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell, of course, was an associate of Jeffrey Epstein. The ruling opens the door for the department to publicly release evidence it had gathered against Maxwell. The trove of documents includes grand jury transcripts, financial records, travel documents, and notes from victim interviews obtained during the investigations. We're just getting Ellie Honig in to give us some legal analysis right now on this Justice Department decision to release a whole bunch of documents involving Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who was involved with Epstein, as all of us know. What's your sense? When are these documents going to be released, and how significant are they?
Then congressional lawyers got involved, and they did something that Patel probably didn't expect. They actually read the court orders that Patel kept citing. And what did they find? They found that Patel was misrepresenting what those orders said. They found that the orders placed very specific, very limited restrictions on a tiny handful of documents. Not the entire Epstein file, not witness interviews, not the names of powerful people connected to Epstein, just a few specific pieces of evidence. But Patel took those narrow restrictions and stretched them like rubber bands to cover everything. Congressional lawyers pointed this out directly. They said Patel is taking limited restrictions on some specific documents and claiming it means he cannot release anything. That, in plain English, is a lie. The most explosive moment came when Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman confronted Patel face-to-face. Goldman, who was a real prosecutor for 10 years, asked Patel directly, "What court orders prevent you from releasing witness interview statements that the FBI took?" Patel's response was almost insulting. "Do you know how court orders work?" he asked Goldman. And Goldman's response was perfect. "Yeah, I was a real prosecutor for 10 years. I know exactly how court orders work." Then Goldman spelled it out. He explained what the court orders actually say. He explained that Patel could release the files if he wanted to. He explained that the only thing standing between the American people and the Epstein files was Patel's own refusal to act. And Patel had no good response. Because Goldman was right. Everyone in that room knew Goldman was right. But Patel's problems don't end with Congress. Not even close. Before he became FBI director, Patel was on a right-wing podcast, and the host asked him a simple question. Why haven't the Epstein files been released? Patel's answer was stunningly honest. He said, and these are his exact words, because of who is on that list. He literally said that the files were being hidden to protect powerful people. He acknowledged it openly on a podcast for the whole world to hear. Congressman Jamie Raskin played that video back for Patel in a hearing. He asked Patel, "So you acknowledge that the real reason the files were not being released was to protect powerful people? Now you are FBI director. You have the power to release them. Why haven't you?" And Patel, once again, had no good answer. He was caught. His own words from before he had power were now being used to expose what he is doing now that he does have power. So let's be crystal clear about what is happening here. Patel came into the FBI director position making grand promises. No cover-ups, he said. No missing documents, he promised. No stone left unturned, he vowed. But now, those promises look empty. Patel is covering up. Patel is refusing to release documents that the law says must be released. Patel is lying to Congress about why, and Patel is hiding behind court orders that, according to federal judges themselves, do not say what Patel claims they say. The question everyone is asking tonight is simple. Why? Why would Patel risk his entire career, his reputation, even his freedom to keep these files secret? The answer might be even more disturbing than the question. Because if Patel was telling the truth on that podcast, if the files really were being hidden to protect powerful people, then the only logical conclusion is that Patel is still protecting those same powerful people right now, and that raises an even bigger question. Who is on that list that is so powerful that the FBI director is willing to lie to Congress and defy federal law to protect them? Now let's talk about why this situation has escalated from political drama to genuine legal catastrophe for Kash Patel. Because make no mistake about what we are witnessing here. This is not just another Washington squabble. This is not just politicians arguing on television. This is a senior government official, the director of the FBI, potentially facing contempt of court, lying to Congress, and violating federal law. And federal judges are not known for their patience when powerful people try to twist their words. The legal jeopardy Patel is facing right now is absolutely real. It is not theoretical. It is not something that might happen in some distant future. The judges are watching, they are paying attention, and they are sending signals that they are ready to act. One judge has already dropped what can only be described as a crushing order. What does that mean exactly? It means a federal judge looked at what Patel has been doing, looked at what Patel has been telling Congress, looked at the law that Trump signed, and basically said, enough is enough. You cannot hide behind fake court restrictions forever. We know what our orders actually say. And if you keep misrepresenting them, we will use contempt power against you. That phrase, contempt power, might sound like technical legal jargon, but it is actually one of the most powerful tools any judge possesses. Contempt power means a judge can look at someone, whether that someone is an ordinary citizen or the director of the FBI, and say, you are violating my orders and I am going to punish you until you stop. That punishment can take many forms. It can be fines, daily fines that grow larger every single day the person refuses to comply. It can be asset seizures. Or in the most serious cases, it can be jail time. Yes, jail time. Federal judges absolutely have the authority to order someone jailed for contempt of court. They have done it to presidents' associates. They have done it to governors. They have done it to high-ranking officials who thought they were above the law. And they will do it to an FBI director if that director continues to lie about what court orders say and continues to defy the law. Think about the sheer audacity of what Patel is doing. He is telling Congress that he cannot release the Epstein files because judges ordered him not to. But the judges are now publicly saying that is not true. Judge Engelmeyer said the government is the logical party to release the files. Another judge said the FBI has the authority to disclose the records. Those are not ambiguous statements. Those are clear, direct judicial opinions saying that Patel has the power to act. The only thing stopping him is his own choice. And this is where Patel's credibility completely collapses. Because if the court orders do not prevent release, and the judges themselves are saying the FBI should release the files, then why isn't Patel releasing them? The only possible answers are all bad for him. Either he is lying to Congress, which is a federal crime, or he is willfully violating the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which is also a federal crime, or he is protecting someone, and that someone is powerful enough that Patel is willing to risk his freedom to keep their name secret. Remember what Patel said on that podcast before he became FBI director. He said the files were not being released because of who is on that list. He said it himself. So now that he is in charge, now that he has the power to release everything, why is he acting exactly like the people he criticized? Why is he using the same excuses? Why is he hiding behind the same walls? The answer that is becoming increasingly clear to everyone watching is that Patel is not the reformer he pretended to be. He is not the transparency warrior he claimed to be on those podcasts and television appearances. He is instead doing exactly what he accused others of doing. He is using his position to shield powerful people from exposure, and the American people are the ones paying the price. But Patel's problems do not end with the Epstein files. There is another layer to this story that makes his situation even more precarious. According to reporting that has surfaced in recent days, Patel has been on thin ice with his own bosses at the Justice Department for a while now, Attorney General Pam Bondi and other senior Justice Department officials have been annoyed with Patel for months, not just because of the Epstein files, but because of a pattern of behavior that has raised serious concerns. What kind of behavior? For starters, Patel has been accused of misusing taxpayer resources. There are reports that he has been flying his girlfriend around on the FBI jet. That is not speculation. That is documented reporting from credible sources, taxpayer dollars, FBI resources being used for personal travel. That alone would be enough to get most federal employees fired or prosecuted, but there is more. Patel has also been tweeting about ongoing investigations before the rest of the government was ready for that information to become public. There was a terrorist attack in Michigan, an assassination plot involving Charlie Kirk, and other sensitive investigations where Patel jumped the gun. He tweeted about arrests before the Justice Department was ready to announce them. He got out in front of investigations in ways that compromised the work of his own agents. Imagine being a prosecutor working on a sensitive case, building evidence, coordinating with multiple agencies, and then the FBI director tweets out details that blow the whole operation. That is what Patel has been doing, and the people at the Justice Department have not been happy about it. They have been annoyed with him for a long time, although they have publicly denied it when reporters asked. But the reporting suggests that behind closed doors, the frustration has been building. And now, the White House is reportedly getting annoyed as well. When the FBI director is causing problems for the Justice Department, lying to Congress, defying court orders, and putting his own personal travel ahead of his duties, the White House tends to notice. There have been whispers that Patel's job security is not as solid as it once seemed. Some reports have even suggested that Patel might be removed, although nothing has been confirmed. But here is the irony that political insiders have been pointing out. Sometimes when it becomes public that a senior official is being considered for removal, that actually enhances their job security. Because if the White House removes Patel now, it will look like they are trying to protect someone. It will look like they are silencing the man who might reveal uncomfortable truths. So Patel might actually be harder to fire now than he was before all of this came to light. That is the bizarre logic of Washington politics. However, and this is a massive however, that political calculation only matters if Patel can avoid legal consequences. And the legal consequences are moving toward him like a freight train. Because regardless of what the White House does, regardless of what the Justice Department does, the federal judges are independent. They do not answer to the Attorney General. They do not answer to the President. They answer to the law. And if they decide that Patel has violated their orders, they will act. So what happens next? This is the question everyone is asking, and the answer should send chills down the spine of anyone who has been following this story. Because we are not talking about political consequences anymore. We are not talking about bad press or uncomfortable hearings. We are talking about federal judges exercising their contempt power against the sitting director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That has never happened before in American history. But there is a first time for everything. Let me walk you through exactly how this would work, because the mechanics of contempt are something every American should understand. When a federal judge issues an order, that order carries the full weight of the law. If someone violates that order, the judge can bring that person before the court and ask one simple question. Why should I not hold you in contempt? At that moment, excuses stop mattering. Political spin stops working. The only thing that matters is whether the person complied with the order. And if the answer is no, the judge can act. There are two types of contempt. Civil contempt is designed to compel compliance. The judge says, you are violating my order, so I am going to fine you every single day until you stop. The fines can be massive, they can be personally devastating, and they continue until the person finally does what the court ordered. Criminal contempt is different. Criminal contempt is punishment for what has already happened. The judge says, you violated my order, and I am going to punish you for that violation. That punishment can include jail time. Now, which type of contempt is Patel facing? Potentially both. If a judge orders Patel to release the Epstein files and Patel refuses, that judge could impose daily fines that grow larger and larger until Patel complies. And if Patel still refuses, if he continues to defy the court, the judge could escalate to criminal contempt and order Patel jailed. Yes, jailed. The FBI director, handcuffed and taken into custody for defying a federal court. That is not hyperbole, that is the law. And here is what makes this particularly dangerous for Patel. The judges are already signaling that they are tired of his games. When a federal judge writes an opinion saying the government is the logical party to release the Epstein files, that judge is sending a message. When another judge says the FBI has the authority to disclose the records, that judge is sending a message. The message is clear. We know what you are doing, and we are not going to let you hide behind us. Patel has been telling Congress that his hands are tied by court orders, but the judges are now saying, our orders do not tie your hands. You are tying your own hands, and you are blaming us for it. That is not just a legal problem for Patel. That is a credibility problem, because once a judge determines that someone has lied about what a court order says, that judge is going to look very skeptically at everything else that person says. And skepticism from a federal judge is not where any government official wants to be. The Epstein Files Transparency Act that Trump signed into law was specific. It required the Justice Department and the FBI to release all Epstein-related files to the public within 30 days. Congress passed it. The president signed it. That makes it binding law. Patel does not get to decide which laws he follows and which laws he ignores. That is not how any of this works. If Patel is willfully refusing to comply with that law, he is breaking the law. And breaking the law has consequences, even for the FBI director. Think about the position Patel has put himself in. On one hand, he has a legal duty to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. On the other hand, he has been claiming that court orders prevent him from complying. But now the judges are saying those court orders do not prevent compliance. So Patel's excuse has evaporated. He has nowhere left to hide. He cannot say the judges told him no, because the judges are saying the exact opposite. He cannot say the law does not require release, because the law explicitly does require release. So what is left? Nothing. Just Patel's own refusal to act. And that refusal raises the darkest question of all. What is on those files that Patel is so desperate to keep hidden? Because let us be honest with ourselves, if the files contained nothing of consequence, they would have been released already. If the files only named low-level associates and minor players, there would be no reason to fight this hard. The only logical explanation for Patel's behavior is that the files contain names that are extraordinarily powerful, extraordinarily well-connected, and extraordinarily determined to stay out of the public eye. Patel himself admitted this before he had power. He said the files were being hidden because of who is on that list. He knew the truth. He said it out loud. And now that he is the one holding the keys, he is doing the exact same thing he condemned. That is not just hypocrisy. That is obstruction. That is potentially criminal obstruction of justice. Because if Patel is actively preventing the release of information that the law requires to be released, and if he is doing so to protect specific individuals, that is a crime. The federal judges watching this situation understand all of this. They understand that Patel is misrepresenting their orders. They understand that Patel is violating federal law. They understand that Patel is lying to Congress, and they have the power to do something about it. Contempt proceedings do not require permission from the Justice Department. They do not require approval from the White House. A judge can initiate contempt proceedings on their own, based solely on what they see happening in their own courtroom. That is what makes the headline, Kash Patel, Arrest Locked In, more than just clickbait. It is a recognition of the legal reality that Patel is skating on extremely thin ice. He is one judicial ruling away from being cited for contempt. He is one defiance away from facing fines. He is one misstep away from a federal judge ordering him to show cause why he should not be jailed. And once that process starts, it moves quickly. This is about the rule of law. This is about whether senior government officials can lie to Congress without consequences. This is about whether federal judges will enforce their own orders when those orders are misrepresented by powerful people. This is about whether the law applies equally to everyone, including the director of the FBI. And if the answer to any of those questions is no, then the entire system means nothing. Patel has a choice to make, and he needs to make it soon. He can release the Epstein files as the law requires. He can be honest with Congress about what the court orders actually say. He can stop hiding behind fake restrictions and start doing the job he promised to do. That path leads to transparency, accountability, and maybe some uncomfortable revelations. But it keeps him out of legal jeopardy. Or he can continue down the path he is on. He can keep lying to Congress. He can keep misrepresenting court orders. He can keep refusing to release the files. And if he does, the federal judges will eventually act. They will issue contempt findings. They will impose fines. And if he still refuses, they will consider jail time. That is not speculation. That is not wishful thinking. That is how contempt power works. That is how the rule of law works. The coming days and weeks will determine which path Patel chooses. But one thing is already certain. The judges are watching, Congress is documenting, and the American people are demanding answers. Patel can no longer hide behind excuses that have been publicly debunked by the very judges he claims are restricting him. The crushing order has been dropped. The warning has been issued. Now we wait to see if Kash Patel is smart enough to heed it, or if he is determined to learn the hard way that no one, not even the FBI director, is above the law. Thanks for watching this breakdown of the legal jeopardy facing Kash Patel and what it means for the Epstein files, for Congress, and for the rule of law. If you want to stay updated on this developing story as federal judges decide their next move, make sure you are subscribed and have hit that notification bell. We are tracking every motion, every order, and every statement from the bench. The links to our free newsletter are in the description, where we send updates the moment new information breaks. This story is far from over, and the next development could come at any moment. We will catch you in the next update.